On a Tuesday morning in August 2024, one of the most powerful restaurant empires in the world lost $5.8 billion. Nobody got fired, nobody gambled the money, nobody made a single bad decision. One man just decided he'd rather make coffee. And just like that, the company that had survived food poisoning scandals, a complete leadership collapse, and a global pandemic started crumbling again. But to understand how one man's resignation could erase billions in a single day, you need to go back to 1993, to a broke chef, an abandoned ice cream shop, and $85,000 borrowed from his father. This is the rise, the crash, the comeback, and the slow crumble of Chipotle Mexican Grill. Steve Ells never wanted to be a fast food CEO. He graduated from the Culinary Institute of America, one of the most prestigious cooking schools in the world, and moved to San Francisco to chase his dream of fine dining. Most people in his shoes would have quit, got a desk job, and never looked back. Not Steve. He worked as a sous chef at Stars, one of the most celebrated restaurants in the city, under legendary chef Jeremiah Tower. But fine dining required money, a lot of it, and Ells didn't have it. So he came up with a plan, a temporary plan. He'd open a simple burrito shop, generate some cash, and use the profits to fund the restaurant he actually wanted. Ironically, he was already building his dream restaurant. He found an abandoned Dolly Madison ice cream shop near the University of Denver campus. He borrowed $85,000 from his father. He calculated he needed to sell 107 burritos a day to break even. He opened on July 13, 1993. The first day's sales? Around $240, barely enough. But something strange happened. Word spread. Fresh ingredients, customizable orders, fast service. Denver had never seen anything like it. Though, let's be honest, in 1993, fresh in fast food meant they'd seen the ingredients at least once before freezing them. Students returned to campus in September, the lines grew longer, and Steve Ells realized his temporary plan had a permanent problem. People wouldn't stop coming. By the end of the first month, Ells wasn't selling 107 burritos a day. He was selling over 1,000 burritos. The fine dining dream quietly faded. Steve Ells had come to Denver to fund a restaurant. Instead, he'd started a religion. By 1995, a second location opened, funded entirely by cash from the first. By 1996, a third. Then Ells did something that would change everything. He brought in McDonald's. In 1998, McDonald's made a strategic investment in Chipotle. It wasn't a buyout, it was a growth partnership. And it worked. With McDonald's capital and distribution knowledge behind it, Chipotle expanded rapidly. By the time McDonald's walked away in 2006, Chipotle had over 500 restaurants across America. McDonald's had done it, with thousands of franchise owners sharing the risk. Chipotle had done it almost entirely on its own. And then came the IPO, the initial public offering. On January 26, 2006, Chipotle went public on the New York Stock Exchange. The stock was priced at $22 a share. By the end of the first day of trading, it had doubled to $44. It was the most successful restaurant IPO in American history at the time. Chipotle had officially become a phenomenon, not just a restaurant, a movement. Its food with integrity promise, naturally raised meats, fresh ingredients, no freezers, resonated with a generation of consumers who were beginning to question what was actually in their fast food. It was the anti-McDonald's, which was ironic given who had funded its growth. By 2015, Chipotle had over 1,900 locations, $4.5 billion in revenue, and a stock price that had climbed from $22 to over $700. It was one of the greatest business success stories of the decade. And then came the burritos that made people sick. The summer of 2015 started off badly. In August, a salmonella outbreak was traced to tomatoes at 22 Chipotle locations in Minnesota. 64 people fell ill. A widespread outbreak of a rare strain of E. coli, known as O26, began appearing across Washington and Oregon. The particular strain was extremely rare, and it kept showing up linked to one name: Chipotle. 47 out of 54 ill people interviewed reported eating at a Chipotle Mexican grill restaurant in the week before their illness started. That wasn't a coincidence. The CDC identified cases in other states and confirmed they were all genetically linked. The same rare strain spreading from the same source. Cases were eventually confirmed in Washington, Oregon, California, Delaware, Kentucky, Maryland, Minnesota, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. By December, 55 people had been infected across 11 states. 21 were hospitalized. Despite extensive testing of ingredients and suppliers, they never identified the specific food item responsible. That last part is what made it so terrifying. They knew it was Chipotle. They just couldn't find the item responsible. Everything tested, suppliers investigated. It was becoming a modern plague. And just like the Black Death, everyone knew something was killing them. They just couldn't catch the rat. Thankfully, nobody was whipping themselves in the street begging forgiveness from God. Chipotle voluntarily closed all 43 restaurants in the Seattle and Portland markets. The closures were announced via signs on the restaurant doors. No press conference. Just a sign on a door telling customers, "We poisoned you by accident, and we are sorry. To compensate, we will close our store." And suddenly, the brand that had promised food with integrity, the company that had built its entire identity on being cleaner, fresher, and better than the competition, was now synonymous with food poisoning. The financial impact was devastating. Same-store sales dropped 29% in the first quarter of 2016. The stock, which had been trading above $750, collapsed. By early 2018, it had fallen over 40% from its peak. Billions in shareholder value, crumbling in real time. Chipotle spent $25 million overhauling food safety protocols. It hired food safety scientists. It introduced DNA-based ingredient testing. It trained and retrained staff. Basically, the food had to undergo studies in a lab to receive a PhD. Without the PhD, food couldn't be consumed from Chipotle. But trust, once broken, is slow to rebuild. Steve Ells, the man who had accidentally built one of the world's most valuable restaurant empires, announced in November 2017 that he would be stepping down as CEO. Chipotle needed someone who could fix what had broken. They found him at another Mexican-related fast food chain, Taco Bell. Brian Nickel arrived at Chipotle in March 2018 with a specific skill set: turnarounds. He had previously transformed Taco Bell, taking a struggling, aging fast food brand and turning it into a cultural phenomenon through digital innovation, menu creativity, and sharp marketing. He understood how to make people love a brand again. At Chipotle, he got to work immediately. He moved the company's headquarters from Denver to California. He launched a digital ordering platform and invested heavily in the Chipotle app. He introduced Chipotlanes, drive-through windows dedicated exclusively to mobile order pickups. He brought back the soul of the brand with marketing that reconnected consumers to the food with integrity story. The results were extraordinary. When Nickel joined, Chipotle's annual revenue was around $4.5 billion. By 2023, it had nearly doubled to $9.9 billion. The stock, which had crashed below $250, climbed back past $500, then $1,000, then $2,000. By the time Nickel was done, it had risen over 760%. Chipotle hadn't just recovered. It had transcended fast food entirely. People in countries where Chipotle had never opened a single location knew exactly what it was. That's not a restaurant. That's a phenomenon. And then, on a Tuesday morning in August 2024, Chipotle's investors woke up to news that nobody saw coming. Brian Nickel was leaving Chipotle. Not because Chipotle was struggling, not because he'd been pushed out. He was leaving because Starbucks, another American giant in the middle of its own crisis, had come calling with an offer he couldn't refuse. Starbucks coffee over Chipotle's fresh burritos. And who could blame him? $117 million, a private jet, and he didn't even have to move house. At that point, you're not being hired as a CEO. You're being kidnapped comfortably. With consent. Chipotle's stock dropped 7% in a single day, wiping out $5.8 billion in market value instantly. At the exact same moment, Starbucks stock surged 25%, adding $21.4 billion. One man's departure from one company and arrival at another had moved nearly $30 billion in a single day. Let that sink in. $30 billion in one day. One man, one shift, $30 billion moved. It was a moment that revealed just how much Chipotle's recovery had been built around one person. The problems that followed were not entirely new, but without the superstar CEO to manage them, someone had to step up. That someone was Scott Boatwright. He had been at Nickel's side since 2018, surviving the executive purge, following him across the country when headquarters moved, building the digital and operational backbone that made the turnaround possible. He wasn't the rock star. He was the one making sure the rock star's guitar was always in tune. Now, the rock star was gone, and Scott Boatwright was standing alone on stage. Customers on TikTok had been complaining for months about shrinking portion sizes. Wells Fargo analysts actually sent teams into 8 Chipotle locations in New York City and weighed 75 bowls. The results confirmed it. Portion sizes varied wildly, some barely half the weight of others. The phrase shrinkflation started following Chipotle everywhere. The first time Chipotle had a problem, the danger was invisible, something lurking inside the food that nobody could find. This time, the danger was also invisible, except now what was missing wasn't a bacteria. It was the food itself. Then came the tariffs. The tariffs hit Chipotle from every direction. 50% of avocados from Mexico, packaging from Vietnam and Thailand, grass-fed beef imported from Australia, a supply chain decision Chipotle had made years earlier when American ranchers simply couldn't keep up with their growth. Years before the tariffs made it expensive, the Australian beef decision had already made enemies. Texas ranchers were so furious that the state's agriculture commissioner wrote a letter directly to Steve Ells, calling it misguided and irresponsible to ship beef 8,000 miles from the other side of the world when American farmers were right there, ready and waiting to export their hormone-pumped beef. What had once been a proud statement about food quality was now an expensive liability. Every decision that had made Chipotle great was coming back to haunt them at once. By Q1 2025, same-store sales had dropped 0.4%, the first decline in years. Consumer spending was slowing. The customers that Chipotle depended on most, households earning under $100,000, were cutting back. The burrito that once felt like an affordable treat was now priced like a sit-down meal in a nice restaurant. By 2025, comparable sales had declined roughly 2% for the full year. The stock had fallen 45% from its peak. Billions in value gone again. The empire that Steve Ells had accidentally built in an ice cream shop in Denver, the empire that had survived E. coli outbreaks, leadership crises, and a global pandemic, was crumbling again. Not dramatically, not all at once, but unmistakably. Politics was shaking the jar, and the man who knew how to steady it was busy making coffee, holding someone else's jar. Chipotle's story isn't over. With over 3,700 locations, zero debt, and $2 billion in cash reserves, it remains one of the most powerful restaurant brands in the world. But its story teaches something important. Empires aren't just built on products, they're built on trust. And trust, whether it's trust in your food safety, trust in your portion sizes, or trust in the leader steering the ship, is the most fragile thing a business can have. Lose it once, and it takes years to rebuild. Lose it twice, and people start to wonder if you ever really had it at all. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my videos.